Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything.
I mean, I came out to the Silicon Valley because we were going to change the world. 3D printing to me was that exact same feeling. We're going to change the world again, except this time I think if the last revolution was sort of about bits, this one is about atoms.
The once shuttered warehouse is now a state-of-the-art lab where new workers are mastering the 3D printing that has the potential to revolutionize the way we make almost everything.
Print the Legend is about the world of 3D printing startups. And so we were able to follow a couple companies as they went from kind of the basement garage sector into kind of the more successful building of their business. So we really are, it's kind of a movie about 3D printing and about company growth.
Our first generation MakerBot. In the early days, I would argue with my co-founders, and we would all argue over who gets to be Woz. He's the tinker. Like, who doesn't want to be that guy? And everybody pointed at me and said, you have to be the Steve Jobs. And I was like, oh, I want to be Woz.
I think to a certain extent, Bree definitely has a mythology built around him, just because he was the first big name within this community.
Formlabs basically started in the basement of the house that Dave and I were living in.
Basically, like, I've always wanted to be an inventor since I was a kid. Like, I always looked up to my movie hero was like the dad in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Somebody needs to do something better than MakerBot.
I really like the guys at Formlabs, and because they were a little bit smaller, they were able to give us a little more access and work with us in the way that, you know, they still, by the time we finished filming, only had, I think, 15 or 20 employees. So when we were around, when there was like 8 or 10 of them, you know, we were able to really get to know them.
We're like 5,000 square feet. This is going to take us years to fill up. And then like 2 months later, it was full. And 3 years later, we're 85 people, which just boggles my mind.
My friends think it's awesome. I like my robot.
When we launched the RoboHand project and launched the video, I tweeted, you know, this is why we do what we do at MakerBot, so that people can do projects like RoboHand.
Yeah, I mean, I have lots of favorite little moments in the movie. A really important one is the first time that you meet Cody Wilson.
What are cool things you can make out of plastic? Well, there's lots of like trinkets and action figures and stuff. But this appeals to a very small set of people. It's the complex mechanism and the useful object that the 3D printer should be able to make to encourage wide adoption. But if some of those useful objects are too useful, well, they won't be allowed to be made.
Cody took an unregulated technology and thought up the most dangerous thing that you can do with it. And so by bringing it up in this way, he was going to be able to make the biggest amount of noise with this technology to make his point.
Praise the Lord and swing into position. Can't afford to be a politician. Praise the Lord.
I actually don't want to put too much energy into talking about secret stuff, and you know, I can't really, this is why I don't talk about, this is why cut.
I don't really envy Bree's position, having that business grow so quickly. What you might think is important when there's 5 of you in a company is different when there's 500 of you, and you're responsible for all those people.
About 6 months. My son is the CEO.
He's the maker. He's the creator, he's the explorer, and he's an awesome leader. And I'm happy to follow his lead.
If you want to have a company that thrives, that survives, then you have to play the game of the big kids. You have to play the big company game.
The American dream that we all know and celebrate is often whitewashed and romanticized in a way that people forget the bumps in the roads and the challenges and the sometimes the row of dead bodies that it took for you to step over in order to achieve your dreams.
Something that they don't tell you about working in a startup is it takes a physical and emotional toll. It drains on you, it tears into you. You believe in every decision. You bleed MakerBot red. And you can only do that so long before it starts to affect who you are. And at a certain point, you have to evaluate, is this worth what it's taking out of me?
The Tears for Fears song was something we dropped in, I think, from our first cut. And we're just like, I hope we can afford it. you know, and we ended up being able to. So I love that song as well. It was a little expensive, yes. Yeah.